Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Super Danny 2. During the last part, I completed the Wily Castle and finished the main game. So in this part, I'll be completing the extra castle. As you may recall during the end of the last episode, in order to access it, go to the center of the stage select, press and hold down the awesome and pawn keys, and press start. You're taken to Darkman's castle. This is a combination / remix of the 4 Darkman stages from Mega Man 5. So this is a marathon level totaling over 120 screens long, and it contains almost all of the gimmicks and enemies that we've seen throughout this game. So if you end up gaming over anywhere in between, you're taken all the way back to the beginning. That's why I stocked back up on lives and dew tanks. The introductory portions are similar, but following that, they get a lot more different. The powered Shadow Blades are surprisingly useful against the Sumatrans. I don't want to jump down there because there's a Sumatran waiting for me. Not the best placement of enemies. Our first Yoku Block segment of this stage. Not taking any chances here, knowing my luck. I wish that dropper of the Dolkrons was placed a bit more to the left. And now we have the Hoppers, or Mecha Kuros. They are a big nuisance in this game, even more so compared to the original game, unless you're using a fusion, or have access to charge shots. Or use ground-based weaponry like the Surge Snake. And just like in the original Wily Castle, there are several portions of the stage where you're forced to use special weapons. Now I have to worry about these Yambos. The gyro attack is surprisingly useful in this level, and especially with some of the positions of the enemies. Just like in the original Darkman stage, we now fight against Darkman. Darkman 1 this time. He's the toughest of the first 3 Darkman forms. Specifically during his panic phase, where he moves a lot faster.
Awesome.
But during the first half, he's really easy to dispatch of. In fact, Darkman's easiest form is Darkman 2. Case in point, it becomes much harder to dodge him when he starts speeding up. Anyways, here's our next checkpoint. I wish there was a large life energy here. Otherwise, this will happen unless you button mash fast enough. Seriously, not the best placement of a Suzy there. That's one of my other complaints about this game, enemy placements. It becomes more problematic during the castle levels, especially in the secret castle. And just like in the Wily Castle levels, I'll try using the other abilities, or other fusions I mean. Might as well give them some time to shine. One of the abilities in particular that really got the short end of the stick was the snake fusion. It really needs more areas to shine. If it could pierce through multiple enemies at a time, I'd use it more often. Same with the knife fusion to a lesser extent. Even though Shadow Fusion is quite useful here, you gotta be careful with aiming so you aren't left vulnerable. Oh yeah, and there were spikes to the left, I didn't notice. I don't think we had this conveyor belt gimmick in the game yet, so this is a new one. Let's try this again. I wish there weren't any surprise spikes to the left. That would make this segment less of a gotcha moment. Best option here is to just use the Gyro Fusion and skip past all of this. And now we have this portion. Use Gyro Fusion again. But first, regenerating my life energy. For a second there I thought I would die. Thankfully the spike hitboxes in this game aren't generous. Oh, you can kill off the swarms even before they appear on screen. If only the special snake could pierce through enemies, it'd be so much more useful to use. Oil and Shadowman platforms. Get in through quickly. I hope there's a checkpoint over here, but in case there isn't, I'm just gonna spend a dude tank. Final boss of this fortress is not as challenging as the Wily Castle was. In terms of difficulty, this stage was more difficult than the first one, mainly due to the conveyor segment. The same boss fight as the original. Very pitiful, he only tries running into you and he gradually gets faster as he loses health. On to Darkman Castle 3 Remix. And yes, in order to climb up here, you do need a fusion that can fire upwards, or bounces to the left. One of the locations where having a diagonal shot is super useful. A purely diagonal shot, I mean. Not only that, you can have the 6 shots on screen. See what I mean of how the snake fusion is outclassed by other fusions? The Sir Snake isn't bad per se, it's just that other special weapons are better relatively speaking. And in some ways the Crystal Fusion outclasses the Flame Fusion. That was all on me for not paying attention, I should have expected that. Not taking any chances here, Gyro Fusion time. I'm finding the Shadow Fusion to be surprisingly useful, mainly in terms of raw damage and DPS. Oh, of course, these fall to the ground. These are taken from Gyro Man's level. And we even have the same enemies. I didn't realize at first that these were the dropping platforms, or the gyro platforms. You might have wanted to make that more apparent, Blyka. I wish there were more scenarios where I could use the Flame Fusion's Flame Blast ability on the ice blocks. I didn't mention this earlier, but I'd like to compare this game with Day in the Limelight 2, as I feel that did a superior job at showcasing each of the Roadmaster's special abilities and giving several scenarios where it's a good idea to use them, or in some cases forced to use them. But here, some fusions are just completely outclassed. That game did a much better job at differentiating the different Roadmasters. A nice touch in this game is that Nightman does not get blown away by these fans. I just wish there were more scenarios where I could use this properly. Here's a place where you're forced to use both the Night Crush and Pharaohman's special ability. And now we have to swap back over to Gyro Man. I think Shadow Man is the best bet over here. Especially as he can destroy the projectiles. Actually, wait a minute, let me give Nightman a time to shine here. As otherwise, in most other scenarios I'd use someone else. See, if only he could raise up his shield faster when throwing out the mace. Otherwise, when I come face first with these shielded enemies, more likely than not when I attack them when they're vulnerable, I'll take damage, as the Night Mace does not pierce against their guards. If it did, I'd more likely use it. Oh well, at least it deals more damage on average, and now we have a purple big eye. See, this is another missed opportunity. I wish Nightman took less damage from enemies. That way there'd be another incentive to use him. Alright, Darkman Tree. Out of the 3 regular Darkman bosses, he's the second hardest. He would be harder if he didn't decide to pause randomly for 1 second or so. Anyways, on to Darkman 4. And for this section, you are forced to use the Gyro Fusion. According to Blyka, this is a reference to that Rush Jet stage, or that stage where you're forced to use the Rush Jet in, I believe, Doc Needle from Mega Man 3. But here it's a lot less painful as you can more easily farm up weapon energy. By the way, don't go down over there, it's kind of a trap. Well, it isn't a trap, there is a reward down there, but it isn't worth it. If that was an M-Tank, I would have gone for it. And now we made it. Let's use a do tank and get down there. Surprise Chainsaw Gabby over there. These shield attackers though, they aren't too bad. I feel one of the main reasons I have so many issues with the shield attackers, maybe not so many issues, but issues with some of the placements of the shield attackers, is that they move quite faster compared to their traditional counterparts, or at least some of them. If they move 75% as fast, I wouldn't have as many problems. Well, I do need them, so let's take it. Notice that most of the damage I'm taking in this stage is not from the bosses themselves, it's from the enemies. Oh. Well, there was a bed of spikes waiting there. I thought there was a boss gate there. Let's try this section again. This time with less fail, I hope. Still not as bad as the regular big eyes. It seems that this fortress does not have any checkpoints in between each level until you reach the boss corridors. We have a Big Eye and the Chone combination. I'll skip by you, thank you very much. Now on to the boss of this entire castle. You know, this castle wasn't that bad. In total, I spent about 30 minutes on this castle. DARKCHIP Darkman is immune to almost all special weapons in the game. Your best bet is to use a full charge shot. Now I'll use this M-Tank and hopefully I'll win. This is all doable without the usage of a Do Tank. In fact, it's easier than the Wily Castle. His patterns are a lot more predictable. In fact, I say he's even easier than both Dark Base and the Wily Capsule. Nevertheless, by defeating him, we gained access to a new special ability, the Dark Fusion. But I'll be showcasing that in the finale of this Let's Play of Super Danny 2, aka the next part. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!